Hello everyone, I hope you're having a good day. If you're new here, thank you so much for watching, and if you've already subscribed, thank you so much for coming back. Today I wanted to give an overview of how I use the Calendex or yearly calendar index pages from the Hobonichi cousin. And there are several ways that people tend to use this page or not use this page at all for that matter. But earlier this year, in July, I had purchased the Hobonichi Cousin Avec to get a little ahead of my planning schedule because I realized that digital planning is not working for me. So in the process of learning how to use certain pages that are available and how to make it useful for me, I think I have come up with a system that is not too overwhelming in my opinion. This might be not very beneficial if you're not a daily planner sort of a person, but I am a daily planner. I spend a lot of time in my dailies, and as you can see, so far I have not missed any days, and which is why this, whatever I'm about to explain to you regarding the way that I do the calendar, yearly calendar and yearly summary, this kind of works for me. So maybe you can take some components of it and modify it to suit your needs, alter it however it may suit you. So if you're not aware, the Cousin Avec has one spread for the year 2022 with a overview of July to December. And if you're able to see here, this indicates all the dates that are available for the month. And there's a section down below where you can add in maybe your goals, or I've seen a lot of people use this as a overall summary of how their month went. And there are also 3 check boxes here, if you see up top, on the individual month sections where you can actually put in your monthly goals here. But I don't use this as of right now, and if I ever need to use this, I will explain how I intend to use this in the future as well, sometime later into this video. So to start off, let me show you how there are 2 portions of this yearly index that I use differently. So everything that you see from here up top is something that is already given by the planner itself. And this I have drawn. I have just made, so there is another section here. This is for 2023, and this is how generally the page will look without all of this. So what I've done on this side is basically I've taken a very light marker. It is this one, the Tombow 910. And I've just made a line here on the first grid, and I have separated this column, this entire column that you see here, into 2, and I have written my index cards. And let's talk about the index cards, or rather, let's talk about the existing view that you see around here, which is the monthly overview, as I would like to call it. So what I tend to do here is nothing special, honestly. Since I mentioned earlier, I'm a very daily planner kind of a person. At the end of the day, every day, and there are days that I might have missed it, but I would have picked it up the very next day. I would go in at the end of the day. This is my shutdown routine, if you will. At the end of the day, I would go into this page and write down something that happened that day. It does not have to be anything consequential. So for example, on the 28th of August, we ordered Chinese takeout. So something really completely normal can also go in here. I just write something that happened that day. It was my shop's 1-year anniversary on the September 17th, so I wrote TMC 1-year anniversary, the Mochi Cloud 1-year anniversary. On the 20th of September, my first order from Hobonichi shipped. 31st of August, it was Hobonichi Day, so I had to purchase my Hobonichi planners on this day in the evening. So this is how I generally go about filling this page, and this happens at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, as part of my shutdown routine, I go in. I might not have written any of that information in my dailies, but if I feel like there is something that happened that day, or if there is something that I would remember or want to remember, or just completely something that makes no sense, so like I have brain fog this day, so I just write it down. So that's how I write all of this in here. And I usually use the, give me a second. Yeah, I use the Sakura Micron Pigma 05 to fill this in. Now, you might be wondering, there are so many colors here. What do they represent? Now, I will not go into detail on what each color represents, but they do have meaning. Some of them are related to mental health. Some of them are completely personal life related. So if there is something that I need to highlight as part of this whole month, I would usually highlight it on the day that I wrote it in. So like if, for example, there's no other way to maybe do this than explain this. This indication of the really dark violet color here, which you would also see here, is an indication that, content warning now, that I had a sleep paralysis situation here. So as somebody who used to suffer from sleep paralysis at least once a week, I've just had one in the span of 2.5 months, which I think is a great achievement for me personally. So anything like that is of some indication to my mental health or my personal life, or anything related to that, gets highlighted. And I don't need a color coding somewhere up top, because I personally know what each of these colors mean, and I don't need to indicate it separately because I'm able to manage this in my head at the moment. Now, let's say, for example, I finish off this entire spread for the year and I start my new planner, and I decide to use a new color coding to indicate all the aspects of my life. Then I would go back in to my 2022 planner and probably write what each of these meant. And it might not be glaringly obvious, but it would be in a key that is able for, in a key that future me would be able to figure out. So it still stays personal, and yet it's something that, it's available, but it's not completely glaringly obvious to the other person, that they might be able to figure it out in case somebody gets their hands on this book. So that's how this section gets filled out. So I think this is okay for me as of right now. I'm able to keep track of this. This might change over the next couple of months, but I have been able to come back to it because it is part of my shutdown routine, and that is the only way that I'm able to keep track of this. Now, there are days where I don't feel like writing anything, but on those days I still do write something. So like, I think I've shown earlier that there are some spreads in my dailies that don't have much written. I don't know. So yeah, not much compared to the other days. So as still part of those, as part of the shutdown routine, I would still come in here and fill this out. So that's how I usually do it. And in order to easily access the page, I have a small tag. This is actually a sticker sheet from my store which has a bunch of flowers, multicolored flowers, and I just stuck both of them, two of those on each side, and I have used it as a page flag. And it works even when I close it, and it's not that it is, it's not getting in the way of anything. Even if I do put it in my bag, or if I need to go somewhere, I would just put it like this so that it's not squished. And it's, I think it's worked pretty well for me. So yeah. So that's the overview of the yearly calendar or the yearly index. Now let's get on with the next section. We're back to the next section, which, as I mentioned, this is a section that I have set up by myself. I've used a marker, split this into two, and I use this primarily as an index card for my small business, and also to track any medical related information. So, and this is something that I set up probably later in July, and I was not able to keep track of it much in July, which is why you will see that July seems a little empty compared to August and September. And this is something that I can go back and fill in July, depending on what I did mention in my dailies. But I don't think there's anything glaringly important that I have missed. I will obviously review it later to see if there are more things that I need to add, but so far this is all that I have been able to look at. So as you can see, what I tend to do is I do get ideas throughout the day, and if there are some things that I need to reference back later in the future, or while I am creating a new collection for my store, I just write those information down on that particular daily page. And I have noticed that sometimes this page is not enough for me. So if I have to write more information, I would, essentially this is some information that I would need to migrate to a better storing mechanism, like a bound book, or like one of those memo pads or memo books that are available. But that's something that we will have to look at when we are reviewing the 2022 planner system altogether. So for example, on the August 2nd, I was trying to figure out what I need to put into my store in the upcoming releases. And while I have been able to put out some of these items already, I wanted to get a reference of what are all the things that I decided to manufacture in my index pages so that I can come back to it later. So that's why you will have a manufacturing list here on the August index card, and it is color coded in blue. So I have written on August 2nd with this blue dot. I have referenced it back here on my yearly calendar page that I am using. Okay, this is the pen that I'm using. This is the Tombow blue ink. I'm using the fine tip side. So I just write in 2, and I just give a very high level overview of what it is that I was trying to reference here. And I hope this is making sense. So if this is something that I need to remember personally from my small business standpoint, I can, if I were to sit here and think what are all the things that I need to index, there are obviously a lot of things that will come up. But right now, the only things that I am choosing to index or choosing to create a reference for the future me is stuff related to my small business and anything that is medical related, which is the red one. So like another example, to check a more recent example, on September 19th in blue, I have, oops, don't want to fill the coffee don't want to spill the coffee. On September 19th, I had, there are two entries. One is, the one in the blue is, if you're able to see, it says planner LU, which is planner lineup, because I was trying to refine my planner lineup for 2023, because there are some things in this system that is not able to be contained within the Hobonichi cousin, which is why I need an additional referencing. So I was trying to write out, and you can see it's my rambling on what all I need, and I finally revised, or I finally settled on a revised 2023 lineup. And I've just used a Scotch tape to just bind these two pages together, or stick these pages together, and you know, just mention that. So there are two color codes here, which is the blue and the red, and the blue is indicative of the planner lineup system that I have decided to use for 2023, and the red is basically a medical entry, medical information entry, which is for blood sugar. So, and I don't do this every day, so just to let you know, this is not something that I have to track every single day, like the blood sugar, but when I do track it, I like to keep an information about it. And these blue dots that you see, blue and red dots, these are actually, these are Memo Pad dots from my store. You can purchase this individually, or you get this free if you purchase a Memo Pad. You know, something like, if you purchase a Memo Pad or a notepad like this one, you get a Memo Pad dot free, so that it can be useful for you to stick the memo pages. But I use these as my reference dots, and I think they're working pretty well for you know, indications of what are used for my calendar pages. So I hope this is making sense. You know, there are certain things that as my planner system gets refined, I will feel like indexing. At this moment, my business is quite small, so I don't need to further categorize that business into multiple components. So I put everything related to the Mochi Cloud in, you know, one big umbrella. That's it. I don't separate it out. Maybe as my business grows, I would probably have to separate things like you know, taxes, finances, and all of that into a separate component, and use different indexing methods for it. But I'm still very small, so this is working for me. And the only thing that I feel needs to be refined is these kind of loose pages. So ideally, this is something that I would like to reference in the future as well. So while having these loose pages in your book is okay, it's fine. It is being held securely by this tape, but I would really like this to stay in a bound book, or some kind of a book that I can use alongside with my cousin and have it sit together, so that it helps me in planning, future planning, and also ideating. In fact, that's the whole point of it. And some of that is why, and that is why I would need maybe certain binders or certain smaller books that I can use alongside with whatever main planner I'm using, which is going to be the Hobonichi cousin for 2023 as well. So yeah, so that is a very high level overview of this system. I think this has been working for me decently well. I have been able to come back to it and you know, add in maybe a small highlight of my day, and also track some things in my personal life in this spread. And I am able to track some of the information that I need to reference later at a later point, or even back reference it as well in these pages. And one of the things that I had mentioned is I'm currently not able to figure out what I need to do here. So as of right now, let's say, for example, it has not happened yet, but if I run out of space for September, I would probably go and just write that in here just to use up this space. So if I've run out of the room for the entire month of September, which is highly unlikely, but in case that it ever happens, I'm happy that there is some space around here for me to add more details. So that's how I plan to use these sections as well. So yeah, that's how I am currently using the yearly calendar and yearly index pages of the 2022 Hobonichi Cousin. Let me know how you are using your pages. Are you using it at all? If you're using it, do you come into it every single day? Are you using a reference binder? Do you track everything in this? I'm always looking to try out new methods because you never know what's actually going to stick and what is actually going to help you unless you try it. So yeah, please let me know how you are using your planner pages. And thank you so much for watching. And if you did watch all this way, please like and subscribe because it helps me a lot. And I love this community, and this is one of my favorite things to do apart from my small business. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.